Hello everyone, Gianni DePoce here with you for Theo Trade, and today is Tuesday, the 17th of December, 2024, and we are on the final stretch of this year. It's been a pretty impressive one to say the least, yet we are still seeing a pretty notable divergence between the indices when it comes to stocks over the last couple of weeks. And what that means is that we've seen the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq hang out near the highs, while the Dow has continued in its correction. And what's interesting about this is that you hear a lot about how the seasonal behavior of December tends to be bullish. Well, as it turns out, the first half of the month tends to be a little bit more bumpy and turbulent compared to the second half, and it's actually the second half that turns out to be more bullish. So we're going into a Fed rate cut tomorrow. The Fed's expected to lower interest rates by 0.25% or 25 basis points, and I'm actually looking at a setup here for the Dow to bottom. I think we're maybe a couple of days away from a bottom in the Dow Jones Industrial Average if we haven't done so already. But when you look at some of these continuous contracts in the futures markets, don't be fooled by these gaps up that we had yesterday on Monday. That's just from the contract roll. And if you look at the March contract itself, you'll see that we pretty much are just hanging out near the all-time highs here in the S&P 500. Now, I would love to see last week's low taken out in the S&P. I think that would give us a really nice setup for a bottom to occur. But what I like even more is the fact that the Nasdaq is reasserting leadership here and absolutely dominating the rest of the market. When it comes to relative performance, I love seeing technology outperform and the Nasdaq. And if you actually look at the top performing sector over the last year and even in the last week, it's communications, and that includes a lot of names like Google, Netflix, okay, and also Reddit. We had a really nice trade on Reddit in AI timing webs. But Google, obviously, the big news on that front has to do with quantum computing. We had that big breakthrough last week with the Willow chip, and we're able to process a lot more. And you're seeing a lot of big moves in quantum computing names like Rigetti Computing. This was actually kind of like an under the radar trade we took with AI timing webs. We talked about it with members, but we didn't put out a formal idea. But many members did take on this trade. But it's not just in names like Rigetti Computing, IonQ seeing big moves, quantum computing. This stock's up 45% today, and you also have D-Wave Quantum, which is seeing a nice bid. So this seems to be the new theme in the technology space, and it's forcing the market to kind of rethink how we look at cybersecurity, how we look at cryptocurrencies, and what the future might hold. And I think what is really exciting for me is the potential for a collaboration, if you will, or just a mixing of the technologies between artificial intelligence and quantum computing. This really does give a futuristic vibe that I'm really excited about, and I think it could drive a major theme in markets going into next year. Now, that being said, there's a lot of hype in the quantum space, but there are some issues that we're seeing in the traditional semiconductor space. We've talked about the need to see semiconductors hit new all-time highs. Okay, we saw some nice moves and breakouts higher in Marvel last week, but seeing a hard sell-off today. Overall, it still looks to be going sideways in the flag portion of the bull flag pattern. I think it still looks good. Micron Technology has earnings tomorrow. After the Fed, I'd keep a close eye on that one because I'm not ruling out a break higher, especially if we clear that technical resistance zone that prices are testing right now. But you look at some of the big chip names, NVIDIA, there's a lot of concern on that. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about a potential topping formation. Now, the setup is potentially there. It's not my favorite type of setup for a topping formation, and I'm also not ruling out this being the low right here. We did fill an important gap from back in early October, and this is something that I'm watching very closely because in bull markets, when you start to see the leaders roll over and start corrections, that does open the door for that to start happening at the index level. So something to definitely keep an eye on here. But you still have names like Taiwan Semiconductor holding up very well, and Broadcom obviously had its big breakout last week. We did just miss that in the chat room. We had the setup there, but the criteria did not the criteria were not satisfied to actually take the trade on. So unfortunately, we had to leave that one behind. But I'm still seeing some good things happening in the big tech space. Apple hitting another new all-time high. We actually talked about a call option trade back on Black Friday that is working very much in the direction of members right now. So that's good to see. Netflix still hanging out near the highs. Microsoft trying to test its high from earlier in the year. I think that seeing a name like this start to participate is a good sign for the market overall. But you've seen a lot of headlines how market breadth has been deteriorating, how the advanced decline line has been dropping, and really what's been happening is a massive rotation into the Magnificent Seven names. Amazon hitting a new all-time high. We finally parked the Cybertruck. I've been very transparent and open about my overweight position in Tesla. We finally took chips off the table yesterday when prices rallied to 460. And from our initial entry back in mid-September, we were able to lock in a 100% return on Tesla on this large cap tech name. And you zoom out, look at the longer term chart, this thing's at new all-time highs. I think it's going to continue into next year. But the rotation into the Magnificent Seven names is not a bad sign, considering that a lot of these stocks were underperforming for a good portion of the year. You take a look at Meta as well. This is also hanging out near the highs. So I think right now the rotation into the Magnificent Seven is acceptable. It is okay, but at some point I am going to want to see breadth improve. For now, it's okay. But we've also talked about with members how approximately 30 to 33% of stocks in the S&P 500 have underperformed the index this year. And I think that's actually setting us up for a pretty exciting 2025. And I think that if we see those stocks start to outperform the index again, it will help put us into that market mania that I'm anticipating, at least for the first half of next year. But I think we need to see, stocks kind of just go through the roof, kind of leave the planet in order for us to see a meaningful high of significance. Still seems like there's a lot of chatter out there every time we have a down day, a lot of people rushing to call it the top, and that's just not the type of sentiment you see when a market is peaking. And it's also worth pointing out that the Fed is easing. They are trying to add liquidity to the system. Credit spreads are holding pretty steady, and I think they want to blow this bubble as high as they can. Let's take a look at cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin hitting another new all-time high here today. Ethereum still hanging out underneath resistance of this notable wedge formation. And, you're seeing some selling in some of these crypto names today, like MicroStrategy, Core Scientific, hanging out, still going sideways near the highs. Hut 8's been a big winner for us. This one's really showing some nice relative strength, up 5% on the day. So, things are moving. There's other things that are kind of spinning their wheels. But I think right now the big thing is patience, as we are still in a strong time of the year. Now, I do like the price action that we're seeing in bonds today. I think that a higher low with respect to the trend going into the FOMC rate decision tomorrow is a positive omen. And I've been talking about how I'm looking at this bearish setup in crude oil, but the big support level to watch here, bulls definitely don't want to see crude oil dropping below $65, $68 per barrel. If we do, I think we could see some sort of washout event, a $20 drop, and then that kind of resets the whole sentiment, all of the cycles in crude oil, and we can start a new bull run after that. Precious metals, kind of a snooze fest right now. Not really much happening on that front. You take a look at currencies. Dollar is still, reinforcing its position as the undisputed king of the currency market. Take a look at the Canadian dollar. Some notable developments happening over in Canada. A lot of governments in Western economies collapsing right now, whether it's France, whether it's Germany. Looks like the Canadian government is on shaky footing right now, and you're seeing this play out in the currency market as the dollar appreciates against the Canadian dollar, the loonie, pretty strongly. So, those are the things I'm watching right now. But, as it pertains to what's happening in stocks, tech's leadership is good. Consumer discretionary still looks strong. All of the internals in the market when it comes to how individual sectors are outperforming still point to higher prices in the near term. I'm not seeing any of the defensive sectors show significant outperformance just yet. That could change, but I think with rate cuts tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit more turbulence, and then by the end of the week, we have another clear direction of higher prices going into the holiday trading market of next week. So that's all for now, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I do want to share this really exciting uh, $1 million trading challenge that Don Kaufman and I will be launching. It's going to start next year, but we are taking applications for those that want to join us on this journey. So we're looking to make $1 million starting with a $250,000 account in 3 years. We're going to be using my stock picking strategy and compounding that with Don's options expertise. So spots were limited to 50. I think there's less than a dozen left. We've already had to let in quite a large number of people, but seats are limited. So check out the link in the video description if you want to join us for this $1 million trading challenge. It's going to be a very exciting endeavor that Don and I are launching, and we hope that you can join us for the ride. So that's all for now, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the Theo Trade chat room. Take care.